So we've talked a little bit about Metro Cluster. Why don't we have a quick look at its method of operation? So what this depicts is there's two sites, and they're separated by dark fiber. This is about, it can go up to 100 kilometers. I'm not sure the exact distance yours are, Adrian. And what we have is we have the two, we're basically taking a NetApp storage controller and we're stretching it across two different sites. Okay, so we've got site A with its storage controller and its primary copy of its data, and there's also a secondary copy of its data on site B. Likewise, on site B, we've got its primary data and a secondary copy on site A. And this means that when data requests come in, those services those requests get serviced by both sets of data on each site. Okay. Likewise, with site A, if a request comes in, it's getting serviced by both sets of data on each site. And that's key here for the availability, because we've actually got two copies of the data on each, one on each site. Which means we can start to, God forbid, start to suffer failures. So if we did have a failure in the data set on site B, that data could still be serviced by the data that was on site A. Likewise, if we had a storage controller failure, then a failover would occur. And site A's storage controller would take on that personality of site B's controller and continue that request. Now the thing with Metro Cluster, because we've got two sets of data, it means we can suffer a disaster situation. So if we lost a complete site, we'd instigate a failover, and that data would still be serviced by the other copy at the other site. So we can have a true kind of high availability, continuous operation infrastructure. Okay. So we've talked a little bit about failures and doom and gloom here. So and the last real section is if something goes wrong, I need to know everything's in place to resolve the issue. And this is where our cooperative support model comes into play around FlexPod. So most service providers now adapt. We've got a 24/7 support desk. Okay, so if there's an issue with any of the components in the FlexPod and it's not able to be resolved at that top level, then they're going to open up a call with the vendor. They're going to open up a call with us. So say it was a NetApp issue, or they thought it was a NetApp issue at the start. As those troubles start to troubleshoot, it may become apparent that, well, actually, it might be a VMware issue, or it might be a Cisco issue. And this is where the cooperative support model kicks in. So rather than the NetApp bouncing it back up to the service desk and say, you've got to open it up with Cisco, there are the communication paths and the relationships in place that the cooperative support model will take that issue and run with it at that level, okay? And also, if it gets to a point where there is an issue that requires engineering type resource, all those pathways are in place so that that can quickly be addressed by any of the parties that's involved, by Cisco, NetApp, or VMware. So I've kind of quickly rattled through some technologies and how they address some business requirements. What I'm going to do now is invite Adrian up on stage, and he's going to quickly talk through the Adapt EVDC offering. Thank you.
Thank you. And I suppose in true Blue Peter fashion, here's one that we prepared earlier. This is the Adapt EVDC. We call it EVDC because the Enterprise Virtual Data Center is a bit of a mouthful, and EVDC is actually easier to get your mouth around. As far as Martin has described, the EVDC is exactly that. It's actually two referenced architectures using the FlexPod design. And this is the cloud platform that Adapt has gone to market with. It's not our first venture into the virtual data center world, but this is the premium estate that we are delivering and supporting and running our cloud services from currently. It's been in operation now for about 18 months or so. We've had live customers on there, and you'll hear from some of those very shortly. For some time now, about a year or so. And they will tell you their experience as far as working with Adapt is concerned. Now, the architecture, as Martin has described, it's a dual data center. Martin alluded to the fact that the data centers are separated. We're 40 miles in real money. I'm an old man, I prefer the miles. About 70 kilometers if you're of the new breed. So what we've managed to do, and what Adapt have, is very uniquely, we have a dark fiber ring that links a number of data centers on our primary real estate. They're all tier 3 data centers as recognized by the Uptime Institutes. And that low latency dark fiber ring allows us to do replicated LAN and SAN technology. So we utilize the Metro cluster at the back end at the NetApp storage to replicate storage between the two data centers, and they're 40 miles apart. So as soon as data hits the primary site, effectively it's already there available to you in the secondary site should there be any failure or issues. The latency between the two data centers is 630 microseconds, right? And you need a very quick finger to be able to measure that. The design is, as Martin alluded to, Cisco UCS blade technology and the standard chassis using the Cisco technology. We've probably belittled NetApp a little bit here with the symbols, but NetApp storage running in a Metro cluster at the back end. VMware ESX, we're running as the hypervisor technology layer. And what we've put in as part of our core infrastructure is all the networking that goes around it. So the dark fiber ring, that low latency dark fiber ring, and also the resilient internet connectivity, all protected by BGP. So you can, you could even lose an ISP and still continue to access. There's no need to provision DNS services and everything else like that. So as the benefits as far as the service is concerned, it's a true dual site infrastructure that operates effectively like one system. So it's one virtual data center, actually 40 miles apart. We've actually been very careful where we planned our data center locations. We put one in central London, but because it could potentially be a risk. The other one we moved outside that wall that a lot of people call the M25, but it's like a wall as far as London is concerned. So the other one is in Woking, so it's 40 miles outside. Interestingly enough, it's actually where the Gurkhas used to be based, so some of the security guards around the building are actually ex-Gurkhas, so it's quite a secure facility. Very high performance. We're using a mix of Cisco technology as far as the Blaze chassis are concerned. Some of the now higher performing one with the 10 cores. So we're getting remarkable performance as far as the Cisco technology and the server technology is concerned. And we're working with NetApp as far as the tiering layers inside the NetApp system. At the moment, fiber and SATA are all in place. So we can deliver the high-performance fiber attached disk, and we've got SATA for longer-term, more archive. We're currently working and looking at SSD as well as far as the technology side is concerned. We can isolate and sell services down to one virtual CPU, 1 gig of memory, 1 gig of disk. Very highly provisioned. You can actually allocate what you want and how you want to break that down. So we can design the services around you and around the systems and operations that you need to provide and run your business. They are all UK-based secure data centers. You will know where your data is located because we can tell you where your data is located. We can show you where it's located. There is also a third data center that is actually on that ring, and that's typically where we back up to. So actually we're off-siting the data as well onto a disk-based storage system. So it's not kept within inside the infrastructure. We're an ISO 27001 certified company. We're also 9001 and 20000. So we actually understand about managing data, about quality of processes, and ensuring that the systems and services that we deliver are repeatable. For those of you who don't know the 20000, that's the ITIL certification effectively. It's all tied in with IT service management, so you get a consistent approach to service delivery. And finally, the staff that are employed with inside Adapt, they're vetted. We know where they've come from, we know that they've got a secure background, and they're approved staff. So you know that you've got a trusted pair of hands that are supporting your organization and your infrastructure.